I used to think I had it all figured out. Marriage, career, the white picket fence, the whole American dream starter pack. You know, the kind they show in insurance commercials. Smiling couple, golden retriever, sunlight through the curtains, that kind of crap. My name's David Brown. I'm 29. And for a while there, I thought I was nailing adulthood. I had a steady job at a freight company, not glamorous, but hey, someone's got to make sure those international shipments full of useless junk get from point A to point B. My wife, Jessica, was 27, beautiful in that, I just woke up like this but somehow still have perfect eyeliner sort of way. Guys would turn their heads when we walked into a restaurant and I'd pretend not to notice. You know, the confident husband move. Inside, of course, I was one slow head turn away from throwing a menu at someone. We'd been married 5 years. High school sweethearts who found each other again after college. Like a Hallmark movie with student loans. She wanted to be a professional photographer. I told her, go for it, babe. Quit that retail job. Follow your passion. Meanwhile, I volunteered to work night shifts because nothing says love like sleep deprivation and lower back pain. Our little system worked. Tuesdays and Thursdays I'd leave at 10 p.m., come home at 7:30 a.m., looking like I'd survived a zombie apocalypse. Jessica would stay up, editing photos, which at the time I thought was adorable dedication. She'd text around midnight, "Good night, love you." I'd send back a heart emoji like a trained husband and get back to hauling boxes labeled fragile that were probably filled with disappointment. Looking back now, oh, there were cracks. Not hairline fractures. More like someone took a sledgehammer to the foundation and I just kept repainting the walls. Jessica started acting weird. Always on her phone, screen down the moment I walked in. Suddenly too tired for date nights. Too busy for weekends. Maybe next week, turned into don't touch me, I'm editing. I told myself, relax man. Marriages go through phases. Sure. Phases where your wife showers immediately after you get home, even though she's been alone all night. Totally normal. And the new lingerie I'd find in the laundry? Oh, she's treating herself, I thought. Yeah, treating herself to someone else. Then there was Mike, our next-door neighbor. Retired cop, early 60s, silver hair, wisdom of Yoda but with more sarcasm. After my dad passed away he kind of filled that role. He'd always say, "Don't worry, David. I've got eyes on everything around here." And I'd laugh thinking he meant burglars. Turns out he might have needed to keep an eye on inside my house. Anyway, that Tuesday night I clocked in, grabbed coffee that tasted like burnt despair and got to work. Around 10:47 p.m. my phone buzzed. "Jessica, love you. Be safe tonight." I smiled, actually smiled like an idiot, and sent her a heart emoji back. She's the best, I thought. I'm so lucky. God must have been laughing his celestial butt off. I buried myself in shipping manifests, scanning barcodes like a productivity robot. Then at 11:47 p.m., exactly 1 hour later, my phone buzzed again. Same name. Jessica. I figured it was another good night text or maybe a don't forget milk kind of thing. So I opened it casually. And there it was. A photo. Not just any photo. Jessica. Wearing black lace lingerie I'd never seen before, hugging curves I apparently had on lease, not ownership. The kind of photo that makes your stomach drop and your brain reboot like a Windows update. Then came a short video, her voice, breathy, whispering words that made me want to bleach my soul. And then, the text. "He's not coming home until 7 a.m. Get here soon. I'm ready for you." Time didn't just stop, it filed for bankruptcy. My hands went cold. The warehouse noise faded. For a second, I thought I was hallucinating from caffeine overdose. I read it again. No typo. No misunderstanding. She was texting someone else. Someone who knew my schedule down to the minute. Someone who was apparently about to visit my wife while I was busy paying for her ring light and dream camera. My first instinct? Call her. Yell. Scream. Ask her if she'd lost her damn mind. But something inside me went ice cold. Like a survival switch flipped on. With shaking hands I took screenshots, photo, video, timestamp. Evidence secured. CSI, Marriage Edition. 3 seconds later my phone buzzed again. The messages vanished, deleted. I stared at the screen watching those 3 little typing dots pop up, disappear, pop up again. Like her brain was running Windows 95. Finally, a new message appeared. "Sorry babe. Accidentally sent you a pic from a boudoir photography project I'm doing. Didn't mean to distract you at work." Well, sure. Because all photographers text their husbands' lingerie selfies titled, "Get here soon, I'm ready for you." Yeah, makes total sense. Pulitzer-level lie right there. There was no camera in the frame. No lighting setup. No client. Just her. And lies. I stared at the screen, felt something boil up. Not tears, not heartbreak. Just pure, sarcastic disbelief. Wow, I muttered. She thinks I'm that stupid. 5 years of marriage and she thinks my brain's made of packing peanuts. I didn't reply. I just walked outside into the freezing night air, my breath visible like smoke from a dumpster fire. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone again. And then, still shaking, still half laughing at the absurdity of my life, I dialed Mike's number. When Mike picked up, my voice cracked like a cheap radio antenna. "Mike, I need your help," I croaked, trying not to sound like a man one bad decision away from a Dateline episode. "Jessica, someone's going to my house right now," I blurted. Mike's whole vibe flipped from friendly neighbor to discount Batman with a pension. "Tell me everything," he said, full cop mode activated. "Don't leave anything out." So there I was in a parking lot at midnight, explaining how my marriage had just exploded over an accidental text, a photo, and a lie so stupid it could have been its own sitcom pilot. Mike didn't interrupt. Didn't gasp. Didn't judge. The man listened like he was back on the force, except now the only thing he was armed with was HOA authority and a retired cop mustache. "Give me 10 minutes to get dressed and positioned," he said like we were planning a tactical assault instead of catching my wife in a Lifetime original. "I'll watch your house. Don't do anything yet. We need to be smart about this. Evidence first, action second." Smart. Yeah, that ship had sailed the minute I said I do. I paced like a caffeinated hamster, my brain flipping through 5 years of marriage, each happy memory suddenly a blooper reel. How long had this been going on? Who was he? Did I know him? God, please don't let it be Carl from accounting. 20 minutes later, Mike's voice came through my phone, steady and calm like he was reading a weather report. "Black Honda Accord, 4 houses down. License plates are covered in mud. Deliberate. Guy just walked up to your front door." My stomach turned inside out. "David," Mike said, voice tightening, "he's got a key." A key. She gave him a key. To our home. To my mortgage. My heart dropped faster than crypto after a tweet. Mike went on. "He just let himself in like he owns the place." Fantastic. Not only was my wife cheating, she was doing it with someone who apparently thought he was on the deed. "Don't come home yet," Mike warned. "Give me 30 minutes to document everything. You need evidence that holds up in court, not an assault charge." Great. The man was quoting the Miranda rights to me. I said, "I'll wait," while already speed walking back to my truck like a man about to make national headlines. My supervisor Danny took one look at me and said, "Family emergency?" I nodded. "Go. We'll cover your shift." God bless Danny, he just saved me from having to fake a fainting spell. The drive home was 23 minutes of pure, unfiltered rage. Every stoplight felt personal. My phone sat on speaker with Mike giving me play-by-play updates like he was narrating a nature documentary. "Lights just went off in the guest bedroom," he said. "They've been in there 18 minutes. The guest bedroom. The same one my mother had stayed in during chemo. Wonderful. Jessica had managed to ruin both love and maternal memory in one night." Mike's voice stayed calm. "Listen to me carefully, David. I'm recording everything. Timestamps, vehicle description, the man entering with a key. This is ironclad evidence for your divorce." He paused. "But if you go in there and hurt someone badly, you'll lose everything. You'll catch a charge, she'll play victim, and she might get the house out of sympathy." Yes, the house. My one remaining life achievement. "I'm not going to let him just walk away," I said through gritted teeth. "I'm not saying let him walk away," Mike replied, pure cop zen. "I'm saying be smart. Document everything. Let me record the confrontation. Get him out of your house. Scare him enough that he never comes back, but don't put yourself in prison over someone who isn't worth the air she breathes." By the time I pulled into the driveway, 12:31 a.m., I was 44 minutes post-apocalypse. Mike materialized from the shadows like the ghost of marital regret, phone in hand, already recording. "They're still in there?" he whispered. "Front door or garage?" he asked. "Garage," I said, flat as a tax audit. "Left it unlocked this morning." I grabbed my father's aluminum baseball bat from the closet. His old joke echoed in my head. "For when you need to knock some sense into the world, son." What dat? Nailed the foreshadowing. We moved through the dark kitchen like two men starring in the world's saddest buddy cop film. I could hear the faint music upstairs, Jessica's anniversary playlist. Perfect. Betrayal, now available with a romantic soundtrack. Mike followed silently, camera rolling like it was his Oscar moment. The sounds coming from the guest bedroom were, let's just say, unmistakable. I froze. 10 seconds of listening to the symphony of my ruined dignity. Mike put a hand on my shoulder. You've got this. Stay in control. Let anger make you smart, not stupid. My grip on the bat tightened. I need to see his face. I need to know who he is, I whispered. Mike nodded. On 3 I'll get the light switch. You make sure he doesn't run. Let me do the talking first. I'm documenting that they're in your bed in your house without permission. That protects you legally, he replied. We positioned ourselves outside the guest bedroom like 2 middle-aged SWAT officers who'd gotten lost on the way to a donut shop. My heart was pounding so loud I was half convinced Jessica could hear it between whatever activities were happening in there. Mike raised his fingers, 1, 2, and all I could think was, yup, this is definitely how every great life decision starts. At 3, I kicked that door like a man possessed, or at least like a man whose entire 401k was currently cheating on him. The frame splintered. Wood flew. Somewhere, a carpenter cried. The light snapped on and the room went from romantic to crime scene investigation real fast. Jessica screamed like she'd seen a ghost, except the ghost was me, and I had a baseball bat. The guy under her scrambled for the sheets like a roach whose lease had just expired. 25, abs carved by protein shakes and bad life choices. I'd never seen him before in my life, which somehow made it worse. Mike's voice cut through the chaos, calm and sharp as a judge at a spelling bee. Don't move. This is being recorded. You are trespassing in a private residence. State your name for the record. The guy just froze, eyes wide like a deer in headlights, if the deer was shirtless and smelled like Axe body spray. Jessica sobbed into the sheets, my mother's sheets by the way. The ones I'd bought for her comfort when she was dying. Just perfect. Baby, please I can explain, she said, reaching toward me like this was the part where I'd just hug it out. Don't you dare call me that, I said, voice so cold it could have flash frozen her tears midair. She flinched. Good. I turned to Jim boy. You have 10 seconds to put your pants on and get out of my house. If you're still here after 60, I'm calling the cops. Mike's video shows you entered with a key you had no right to have. He moved fast enough to make me wonder if guilt gives you super speed. But as he tried to edge past, I shifted the bat slightly. Not threatening, just a friendly aluminum reminder of bad decisions. Not yet, I said. First, you answer the man's question. Name. Jessica piped up like the world's worst game show contestant. Lucas, she sobbed. Lucas something, I don't know his last name. David, please just listen. Wallet, I interrupted. Come. Flat. The kind of calm that makes people deeply uncomfortable. Show me your wallet. Now. Lucas fumbled through his jeans with hands that looked like they were auditioning for a Tremor commercial. He pulled out his wallet and held it up to Mike's camera like a model on Cops, the Millennials edition. Lucas Anthony Reeves, Mike read for the camera, his cop voice fully engaged. 24 years old. Lucas looked like he was about to vomit on my carpet. A crime that would have honestly just added to the night's theme. How long? I asked Jessica, my eyes never leaving Lucas. David, it's not what you think. How long? My voice cracked through the air like divine retribution, and it worked. 4 months, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I'm so. 4 months, I repeated, letting the words roll around in my mouth like something rotten. 4 months of lies. 4 months of me working night shifts while this guy used my key. 4 months of Netflix and betrayal. Did you ever do this in our bed? I asked. Her silence was a confession, a eulogy, and a punchline all at once. Something inside me went completely dead. Mike noticed it, the cop in him probably saw that glazed, I might go to jail tonight look, and shifted slightly forward just in case. Get dressed, I told Lucas, voice flat enough to level a field. You have 30 seconds. Then we're going outside for a conversation. Jessica clung to my arm, wailing like she was auditioning for a soap opera. David, please don't hurt him. I shook her off like she was lint. Too late for that, I muttered. Lucas set a world record for putting on pants. But when he tried to slip past, I caught his shoulder firm. We're not done talking. I marched him through the house, past the kitchen where we'd planned our wedding, the living room where we'd opened Christmas gifts, and the garage where Jessica's expensive camera equipment sat collecting dust and regret. She followed, crying, shouting, apologizing. Might as well have been a car alarm in the background. I'd tuned her out completely. Under the harsh street light, Mike still recording like he was earning hazard pay, I shoved Lucas toward his car. You're going to get in that car and drive away, I said, each word carved from the coldest part of my soul. You will never contact my wife again. Not a text. Not a call. Not a thought. If I ever see you near her, near my house, near my life again, I'll make you wish you'd never been born. Do you understand me? Lucas nodded, eyes wide, bleeding from a small cut on his lip. He looked like he'd just realized his life choices were terrible, which to be fair they were. I brought the bat down on his windshield. Crack. The glass spiderwebbed beautifully. That's so you don't forget who I am, or what happens when you touch what's mine, I added. Lucas scrambled into his car like his seat was on fire. The tires squealed as he vanished into the night, probably reconsidering every Tinder match he'd ever swiped right on. Behind me, Jessica collapsed to the floor, sobbing, "David, please. I love you. I made a mistake. Please don't do this." I turned, staring down at the woman who just torched 5 years of my life for a guy who still used pre-workout supplements as cologne. My voice came out steady, surgical. "Pack your things. You have 1 hour. Then I'm changing the locks and calling the police to report that Lucas Reeves trespassed in my home with a stolen key. Whether you're still here when they arrive is up to you." "Where will I go?" she whispered, broken and small. "I don't care," I said. 3 words that buried a marriage and my last shred of idealism. She begged for another hour. I gave her 30 minutes. While she packed, I made 3 phone calls, the kind that rearrange lives like chess pieces. By 2:17 a.m., Jessica's car rolled down the driveway, overloaded with suitcases and bad decisions. I watched from the window, the same one we used to decorate with Christmas lights. And I felt absolutely nothing. Not satisfaction, not sadness, not even a hint of relief. Just this perfectly icy void where my heart had apparently checked out and never left a forwarding address. Mike sat at my kitchen table like a tech-savvy vigilante, phone tethered to a laptop, uploading video evidence to 3 separate cloud accounts. "Redundancy," he explained. "Lawyers love redundancy." We were about to give Amanda Torres enough ammo to make Jessica wish she'd stayed a cat lady forever. I dialed Amanda at 2:30 a.m., because obviously timing is everything. Her voicemail answered with all the cheer of a drill sergeant who just found out someone stole her parking space. I left a detailed message recounting every fact as if I were narrating a true crime documentary. Accidental text, Mike's surveillance, confrontation, Lucas Reeves' ID, all of it. Promised to send the full evidence packet pronto and requested an emergency Monday morning meeting. Amanda's reputation, Mike had said, was legendary. She didn't just win, she annihilated anyone who dared cheat their way through life. And spoiler alert, my wife had just handed her the winning lottery ticket. The second call was delicate. Jessica's father, Robert, picked up on the 4th ring. His voice, rough and sleepy, carried all the confusion of someone who just woke up to find out their child was secretly auditioning for Surprise Villain of the Year. "David, what's wrong? Is Jessica okay?" "I'm sorry to call at this hour, Rob. But you need to know something about your daughter," I said, voice clinical, precise, surgically detached from any emotion. I recounted everything. The accidental text. The video. Lucas Reeves' driver's license. The confrontation. No embellishments. No theatrics. Just pure, unfiltered facts so damning they could have been classified as lethal evidence. A heavy silence followed. 30 seconds that stretched like taffy. "Send me the video," Robert finally said, voice thick with shame and barely contained rage. "Margaret needs to see what she's done," he added. "Rob, I'm not trying to turn you against her." "Send it, David," he cut me off, voice cracking. "She's destroyed your marriage, embarrassed our family, violated every value we raised her with. Her mother and I need to see the truth with our own eyes." Within minutes, the video and screenshots were sent. The family that had welcomed me like a son was now primed to exile their own daughter. The 3rd call was to the automated banking system. I left meticulous instructions to freeze all joint accounts first thing Monday morning. Then I went full hacker mode, changing passwords on every shared account. Netflix, Hulu, utilities, credit cards, even that half-used subscription to the artisanal popcorn club Jessica had convinced me to join. Mike helped document everything systematically, moving through the house like forensic ninjas because, in the end, this was a crime scene. By sunrise, I had compiled a 47-page evidence packet. Screenshots with timestamps, Mike's video testimony, photos of Lucas' license, proof of repeated access with a stolen key, records of joint accounts she'd raided, and her own texts admitting the 4-month affair. Basically, if evidence were a casserole, I'd just made a 7-layer lasagna of doom. Monday morning, Amanda Torres was in her office, reviewing the materials with the barely contained glee of someone who had found the ultimate cheat code. "This isn't just a fault-based divorce," she said, spreading the documents across her desk like she was setting up for a heist. "This is a nuclear weapon. The accidental text proves intent and premeditation. The video proves adultery in the marital home. The key proves repeated planned access. In this state, she's entitled to absolutely nothing. I laid out my demands like a CEO firing a particularly incompetent intern. I want the house, both cars, all savings, my retirement accounts, and I want her name removed from everything we ever shared. Done. Amanda replied with that smile that makes you wonder if she ever drinks water or just pure, distilled schadenfreude. And we'll file a restraining order based on her attempts to contact you against your clearly stated wishes. I'll also explore criminal charges against Lucas Reeves, criminal trespass, unlawful possession of a key to a residence. Even if the DA doesn't prosecute, it adds pressure. Makes him disappear permanently. Within the week, Jessica had tried desperately to contact Mike, begging him to explain that it was all a mistake, that she loved me, that Lucas was meaningless. Mike's reply, forwarded to me, was pure poetry. You were caught committing adultery in your husband's home with another man who possessed a key to that home. A key you illegally provided. I witnessed it. I documented it. Don't contact me again. The neighborhood got wind of the saga in record time. Not because I was gossiping like a vengeful town crier, but thanks to smashed windshields, late-night confrontations, and Helen making sure everyone knew. By week's end, Jessica was a pariah. Former friends deleted her, wedding invitations rescinded, photography clients canceled. Divorce papers arrived 3 weeks later. She tried one last desperate move to win me back. Cute. She had no idea I was already 3 steps ahead. And this time the law was fully on my side. 3 months after that fateful Tuesday, I sat in the downtown courthouse, watching Judge Margaret Thornton review our evidence packet. Jessica's attorney, a tired-looking public defender, because she couldn't afford private counsel, made a weak plea about forgiveness, rehabilitation, second chances. Amanda Torres dismantled it in exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Your Honor, Amanda said, rising like a hawk about to pounce, the respondent engaged in a 4-month affair, provided her paramour with a key to the marital home, and used that home for adultery while the petitioner worked night shifts to support her unemployed lifestyle. This isn't a mistake. It's a calculated pattern of deception and theft of marital resources. Judge Thornton, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, didn't even bother to mask her disgust as she watched Mike's video evidence. In 30 years on this bench, I've rarely seen such clear-cut documentation of marital betrayal and financial manipulation. She slammed her gavel. The petitioner receives the marital home, both vehicles, all marital savings and all retirement accounts. The respondent receives nothing. Divorce granted. The gavel came down with all the grace of a brick through a windshield. The sound echoed like the universe itself saying, "You're free, my boy, run." Outside the courthouse, Jessica approached, or rather stumbled toward me, looking like a rejected extra from a low-budget zombie movie. Her hair resembled an unbrushed ferret, her clothes looked like she'd lost a wrestling match with a thrift store clearance bin, and the dark circles under her eyes screamed, "I regret everything, including my skincare routine." "David, please. Can we just talk for 5 minutes?" she pleaded, clutching her cheap handbag like it contained the last fragments of her dignity. "No," I said, not even breaking stride. Amanda, ever the professional shark, guided me toward the parking garage like she was escorting a celebrity away from a particularly persistent fan. "I've lost everything," Jessica cried, following a few desperate steps. "My parents won't speak to me. I'm working double shifts at a diner. I had to sell all my camera equipment just to make rent." For a moment I considered feeling something, sympathy, pity, indigestion, but nothing came. Instead I stopped, turned, and said, "You lost everything because you threw it away for a 24-year-old stranger. That's not my problem. And it will never be my problem again." Amanda gently steered me forward again, her hand firm on my arm like a bodyguard ensuring the star doesn't make eye contact with the paparazzi. Behind us, Jessica stood in the hallway, crying for a marriage she had personally taken out behind the barn and shot. Through Mike, I later heard that Lucas Reeves had fled the state faster than a rat abandoning a sinking ship. Apparently, the mention of criminal trespass and unlawful possession of a key had spooked him enough to move 3 states away. Mike's police contact even joked he was probably living under an alias somewhere in Nebraska, haunting Waffle Houses at 3 a.m. Did I feel satisfaction? No. Lucas wasn't the disease, he was just the rash. Jessica had been the infection all along. The house felt empty, but in the best possible way. Like taking out the trash and realizing the smell is finally gone. I repainted the guest bedroom in soft colors my mother would have loved, replaced the bed entirely, and donated every single piece of furniture Jessica had ever touched. I kept only what was mine before the marriage because, honestly, everything else just reeked of regret and bad decision-making. Mike and Helen invited me for dinner twice a week. They never pushed me to talk about it, they just made sure I was eating food that didn't come in cardboard boxes. Mike decided it was time I learned to grill properly, because apparently manhood is measured in steak marks, and Helen made sure I was eating vegetables like she was secretly competing for best surrogate mom in suburbia. At Mike's gentle insistence, I started therapy with Dr. Audrey Mendes, a trauma specialist who apparently had a PhD in detecting sarcasm behind emotional suppression. The first session I sat there like a rock, saying I was fine, totally fine, just wanted to move on and forget. She nodded politely, the way a lion tamer nods at a lion that insists it's vegan. By the third session, I was crying hard enough to qualify for a dehydration study. Dr. Mendes handed me tissues and said softly, "You're not mourning her. You're mourning the lie she made you believe in." I stared at her mid-sob and muttered, "Wow, that's disturbingly accurate." She smiled and said, "That's why I charge $200 an hour." 6 months post-divorce I was a new man. 20 pounds lighter, partly from gym discipline, partly from not stress eating over infidelity. My eyes were clearer, my goals sharper, and my playlists no longer contained sad breakup songs. I was interviewing for a day shift in logistics management, a proper human schedule with weekends off and the thrilling possibility of seeing sunlight again. Then came the pasta sauce incident. One Saturday, while comparing marinara brands like a man auditioning for Domestic Life Season 2, a voice beside me asked, "Excuse me, do you know if this brand is any good?" "I'm terrible at cooking, but I'm trying to learn." I turned to find a woman about my age, pretty, confident, and completely devoid of the chaos I'd once called love. She wore glasses and a t-shirt from some software company, and she smiled like she actually meant it. We talked about pasta sauce, which somehow led to cooking disasters, which led to jobs, which led to books, travel, life, and before I knew it, 40 minutes had passed and I was actually enjoying myself. When she scribbled her number on my grocery receipt, I felt something I hadn't felt since before Jessica's great betrayal. Hope. Not love, hope. "I'm Sarah, by the way. Software developer, new to the area, hopeless in the kitchen," she said, laughing. "David. Logistics coordinator. Long-time resident. Also hopeless in the kitchen but open to improvement," I replied, smiling, a real smile this time, the kind that actually reached my eyes. "Maybe we could figure it out together," she said with a grin. Maybe we could. For the first time in ages, I wanted to try. A year after the divorce that freed me from the world's most expensive mistake disguised as a marriage, I stood in my backyard, the same yard where Lucas had been unceremoniously introduced to the concept of consequences. Everything was different now because I'd made it different. New fence, new trees, new peace. The guest room was now my home office, where I worked on my logistics management degree, funded by money I no longer wasted on someone else's Etsy dreams. Sarah and I had been dating for 6 months, taking things slow, building something real. On our third date, I told her everything: the betrayal, the confrontation, the trial by gavel. She listened without judgment, then told me about her own heartbreak with a fiancé who drained their joint account and vanished. "I understand taking things slow," she said. "Some wounds need time to heal properly." She never pushed, never demanded, never asked for more than I could give. It was healthy. It was real. It was built on truth instead of gaslighting and overdraft fees. The promotion came through 3 months ago. Day shifts, weekends off, actual rest. Mike and I became close friends beyond crisis management. We grilled, we watched football, we joked about turning my life into a Netflix limited series called Surviving Jessica, the unauthorized biography of a bad decision. Helen continued to feed me vegetables like she was running a one-woman health intervention. Jessica, of course, tried to contact me 4 times this year. Apologetic texts from new numbers, blocked. Emails that bypassed filters, deleted unread. Even a handwritten letter delivered to my office that went straight into Amanda's files as Exhibit, Continued Harassment, Volume 2. Each attempt was the same flavor of tragic comedy. "I'm sorry. I've changed. I've learned from my mistakes." And every time I couldn't help but think, "Congratulations, Jessica. Personal growth looks great on people who should have considered it before the cheating." I delete her texts without reading past the first line because Jessica is nothing to me now. Not an enemy, not a source of anger, just nothing. A ghost of bad decisions haunting my notifications. Her parents still refuse contact. Margaret, her mother, leaned over to Helen at the grocery store last month and said, "I don't have a daughter anymore. Some betrayals can't be forgiven." She delivered it like she was announcing a new line of artisanal bread, final, unyielding, perfectly baked with consequences. The consequences remain permanent, exactly as they should be, she added, with the subtlety of a sledgehammer disguised as a polite remark. Neighborhood gossip is a beautiful thing. According to the grapevine, Jessica still works minimum wage jobs, still lives in that studio apartment that smells faintly of bad decisions, still struggles to piece together a life from the ashes of her own making. Her photography dreams? Burnt. Sold with her camera equipment faster than you can say, portfolio. Her social circle? Poof. Vanished. Reputation? Permanently stained like red wine on a white carpet. Lucas Reeves? Never returned. Somewhere far away, living under a paranoid cloud, probably triple-checking locks and checking under his bed for me. Good. I stand at my kitchen window, Sarah laughing at something on her phone in the living room. She fits here in a way Jessica never did. She has her own life, her own career, her own identity. She doesn't need me to complete her. We're not two halves of some tragic romantic comedy. We're two people who happen to enjoy each other's company without pretending the other is a supporting character in their drama. Stop laughing at memes like that, I teased, pretending to be annoyed but secretly loving it. No promises, she said with a smirk, waving the phone like a tiny flag of victory. Dr. Mendes asked me in our final session if I'd forgiven Jessica. No, I answered without hesitation. And I don't need to. She said, raising an eyebrow. Interesting approach. Most people think forgiveness is mandatory. Not me, I said, leaning back in the chair. Forgiveness isn't required for me to move on. She's simply irrelevant to my life now. Like expired milk or bad Netflix recommendations. That realization, that cold, delicious truth, is the truest freedom of all. Betrayal reveals character. Jessica revealed herself to be selfish, entitled, and willing to destroy everything good for absolutely nothing real. I revealed myself to be stronger than I knew, strategic enough to protect myself, and resilient enough to rebuild from nothing. Some people throw away everything genuine for momentary pleasure and hollow validation. Others refuse to be destroyed by those choices. I'm the latter. I pour myself a coffee, the smell rich, the mug warm. Sarah walks by and tosses me a cheeky grin. Life is quiet, life is simple, life is filled with pasta sauce debates and laughter that doesn't come with strings attached. And for the first time in years, I'm genuinely, completely happy. Love this story? Like, share, and subscribe for more epic audio adventures. Stay curious and keep listening.